already familiar with the rules and patterns for multiplying with positive numbers. Let's use what we know to see if we can find rules and patterns for multiplying with both positive and negative numbers. We're going to set up a grid that ranges from -4 to +4 on both the horizontal and the vertical axes. We can then use it like a multiplication table. Let's start in the quadrant that has us multiplying positive values by positive values. If I start here on the far right, I have 4 times 4 that gives me 16, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 times 0 is 0. I can continue down the other columns in that quadrant. 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 0 is 0. The same for the column for 2 times everything, 1 times everything, and we'll go ahead and fill in 0 times everything. We notice in that quadrant, when we multiply a positive factor by another positive factor, we get a positive product. What happens if we continue down that column below 0? Well, if we look, there's a pattern to our column. Each value is decreasing by 4 each time. 16, 12, 8, 4, 0. So if we keep that going, continue decreasing by 4, 4 times -1 gives me -4. 4 times -2 gives me -8. 4 times -3 would give me -12. And 4 times -4 would give me -16. We can continue that on using our other columns as well. Continuing down the 3's column, we're decreasing by 3 each time. 12, 9, 6, 3, 0. So continuing to decrease by 3, 3 times -1 would give me -3. 3 times -2 would give me -6. 3 times -3 would give me -9. 3 times -4 would give me -12. And then continue that pattern for the 2's column and the 1's column. If we look, we multiplied a positive factor by a negative factor. That gave us a negative product. So multiplying a positive by a negative is going to give me a negative value. What if I start back at my first quadrant again and this time continue back to the left? If we go from right to left, we can see we're still decreasing by 4s. 16, 12, 8, 4, 0. So if I kept that pattern going, -1 times 4 would give me -4, -2 times 4 would give me -8, -3 times 4 would give me -12, -4 times 4 would give me -16. So if I continue that pattern for the 3's, decreasing by 3 each time, then for the 2's and for the 1's, so when I multiply a negative times a positive, that also gives me a negative product. That also fits with our commutative property of multiplication. When we change the order, we're going to get the same result. Now let's look down here at our last quadrant. If I start here with the 4's again, -16, -12, -8, -4, 0. So if I continue increasing by 4, -4 times -1 would give me +4, -4 times -2 would give me +8, -4 times -3 would give me +12, -4 times -4 would give me +16. Same thing then if I continue on in the 3's column, -12, -9, -6, -3, 0. Increasing by 3 each time. So multiplying -3 by each of those negative factors would continue increasing by 3. The same would continue in the multiplying by -2's, and the same would continue when I multiply by -1's. So if I look at this quadrant, I multiplied a negative factor by another negative factor. And when I do, that's going to give me a positive product. Let's put our patterns that we found for multiplying with negatives into an algorithm. When we multiply with negatives, first off, we need to ignore the signs. We can then multiply our values together like normal. To decide if our product is positive or negative, we need to look at our signs. If our signs match, we're going to have a positive product. So positive times positive gives me positive, and negative times negative also gives me positive. If the signs don't match, though, our product is going to be negative. So a positive times a negative would give me a negative, or a negative times a positive would also give me a negative. Let's test our algorithm out on a variety of different problems. To start with, we have -12 times +11. So to begin with, I'm simply going to multiply 12 times 11. 12 times 11 gives me 132. Since my signs don't match, I have a -12 and a +11. That tells me my product is going to be negative. So -12 times +11 gives me -132. In our next one, we have decimals. -25 hundredths times -4. So to start with, I simply need to multiply 25 hundredths times 4. 25 times 4 gives me 100. Since there's 2 decimal places in my factor, there needs to be 2 decimal places in my product. Since my signs match, negative times negative, that tells me my product is going to be positive. So -25 hundredths times -4 comes out to give me a positive 1. In our next problem, we have fractions to work with. Negative 3/8 times positive 2/5. Well, I'm going to start out by multiplying 3/8 times 2/5. Multiply my numerators together. 3 times 2 gives me 6. Multiply my denominators together. 8 times 5 gives me 40. 6 over 40 isn't in lowest terms. The greatest common factor of 6 and 40 is 2, so I'm going to divide both my numerator and my denominator by 2. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. 40 divided by 2 gives me 20. So in lowest terms, I have 3/20. Since my signs don't match, I have a negative 3/8 and a positive 2/5. That tells me that my product is also going to be negative. So my final solution comes out to be negative 3/20. On our last problem, we actually have a series of numbers we need to multiply. Positive 6 times negative 2 times negative 4 times positive 5. To do this, we need to tackle this 2 numbers at a time. So I'm going to start out by solving positive 6 times negative 2. 6 times 2 gives me 12. Since my signs don't match, that tells me I have a negative 12. From there, I can take that negative 12 to tackle the rest of the problem, times negative 4 times positive 5. Next, I can tackle the next 2 values. So negative 12 times negative 4. 12 times 4 gives me 48. Since my signs match, I have a negative times a negative. That tells me my 48 is going to be positive. From there, I can tackle the next part of the problem, which is going to be times positive 5. Since those are my last 2 values, I can simply multiply 48 times 5. 48 times 5 gives me 240. Since my signs match, a positive times a positive, that tells me my final product is going to be a positive 240.